An Irish couple living in Canada say they feel let down by their home country after struggling to get an Irish passport for their son. Jay O'Callahan and Aaron O'Brien welcomed their son Jake through surrogacy last August and have been told that in order to get Jake an Irish passport, they'll need to prove that one of them is the father, a lengthy and costly process that in the end excludes the other parent altogether. Jay, Aaron, and their delightful, adorable, and wonderful little son Jake can join us in studio. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so you put a lot of your life savings into creating this family, a lot of time and effort and passion and love. And then you come to find out that your government, the Irish government, doesn't recognize this family.
Yes, like as you said, we put everything into getting Jake into this world. It took us over 3 years of a process in terms of finding the right person who would take us on a surrogacy journey and bring him into the world for us. And we weren't too concerned about legislation or anything like that. We just really wanted a family. So thankfully, the Canadian government recognises myself and Aaron as Jake's legal parents, which is what we always wanted. And we are the only two people on his birth certificate. Mm-hmm. Our surrogate doesn't have any biological connection to Jake or anything like that.
Because the egg wasn't hers.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She was a carrier.
Yeah.
And we applied for a passport for Jake, for an Irish passport, because we really wanted him to have dual citizenship. We wanted him to have the opportunity to go back to Ireland whenever he wanted.
Well, it's your home, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And we're both Irish citizens, so that's what we were hoping our entitlement was, but we found out it wasn't.
We should also mention that heterosexual couples wouldn't have this issue since under Irish law, quote, the mother of a child is the person who gives birth to the child or female adopter of the child. So an Irish couple in Canada could adopt a child, get that child an Irish passport as long as one of the parents were female. So here, brass tacks here. What are your options? You must have sat down and had some really hard conversations. How badly do you want this passport now? They're saying essentially you'd have to take a DNA test, but you guys don't want to do that. So talk to me about why you wouldn't do a DNA test and what steps are you willing to take here?
Yeah, so we never wanted to get a DNA test because we don't biologically know if Jake is Aaron's or mine, essentially. And we never wanted to know.
And you never want to?
No, because, like, we're his dad, right?
Yeah.
We see him as his son, and we hope he sees us as his parents. Yeah. And that's something we never wanted to do. So we feel we're now being forced to go down this route of DNA testing, which is not something that we ever wanted to do. And I guess a lot of it comes down to we're living in Canada, and Canada is so recognizing, which is fantastic, and that's all we could ask for. But we want him to have the opportunity that he should be entitled to. Like you said, Irish law will only recognize the birth mother as his legal parent. So essentially, our surrogate and her partner have more legal rights, have all legal rights to Jake over myself and Aaron. And if we wanted to do anything, like you said, we'd have to go to the courts, DNA testing, and at that point, one of us would be considered his father. The other would still have no rights.
Yeah. Jay, continue. Yeah.
So just even at that, with a heterosexual couple, the father or the father of that child, which could be unknown if a woman is pregnant, but they just assume that the father is the father.
Yeah.
But in our case, it seems quite unfair that just because we are two men, that we would have to do something like that. And I find that would be quite a horrific question to ask any dad to get a DNA test approved, especially when we went through something for so many years and so stringent in what we had to do to prove that Jake is actually ours.
Now, Aaron, let me just sort of look to Ireland, because I'm thinking if ever there was the opportunity, the chance, and the will to change these laws, it would be now with Leo Varadkar at the helm of that country, the first openly gay Taoiseach of that country.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What have you heard from the government about where the needle is and how far they're willing to move it?
So we've emailed so many TDs, like government officials, politicians, 150, I think, individual emails to go out to these guys. And they say they're surprised by the whole situation, and they said they're going to go to the minister, Simon Harris, and ask all these questions and see where it's going to be pushed. We haven't had a definite answer yet. We don't know what position we're in right now. It's as unknown to us as it is to any of these guys too.
Yeah, and I think an important part right now is Ireland is about to introduce a bill which is supposed to recognise same-sex families, because we passed same-sex marriage 3 years ago. Unfortunately, families of same-sex couples were left behind. Within this bill, it mentions female same-sex couples. We're being excluded of that bill. So we're now being progressive in getting this passed, but families like ours are still being excluded.
You know, it seems unfortunately that when that social progress comes, it comes sometimes piecemeal, and it doesn't satisfy everything. There are holes in it, and so it's stories like yours, unfortunately, that highlight those holes, and hopefully they get filled as quickly as possible. Guys, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. We really hope it gets resolved as quickly as possible so that this little guy can go visit where he's from. We're so proud to have had you here, and you feel free to, you can leave him with us for a little while and pick him up at the end of the day, because he is an absolute delight. Thanks so much.
Yay.